What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel, my Epictastic Nation. This is going to be, once again, for another movie in the Twisted Childhood universe. This is Joshua Drake, welcome back if you're a returning member or a new member. We're talking about Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. This is directed by Scott Chambers and this is his directorial debut. This is the third movie of the TCU. This is a horror reimagining of Peter Pan, and it stars Martin Portlock, Wendy Placito, and a bunch of other actors, especially Kit Green. The premise of this movie is that we follow Wendy Darling as she encounters a twisted Tinkerbell as she tries to rescue her brother Michael from the evil clutches of Peter Pan. So when it comes to the story of Peter Pan, I am a fan of the Peter Pan story by J.M. Barrie. I have seen this in multiple interpretations. I haven't seen every movie interpretation, but there has been some adaptations I have seen. I really like the 1953 Disney one. I really enjoyed Hook. I think it's underrated. I haven't seen it in a very while, since 2021 or 2022 was the last time I watched it. And I actually really like the Peter Pan 2003 movie. I think it's really underrated. I have seen Pan, but I have not seen Peter Pan and Wendy, which was the last one for 2023. I will say, Peter Pan, I do like this idea, but when it comes to the TCU, this cinematic universe has just been one of those things where it's not very good, but there have been guilty pleasure enjoyment so far with Winnie the Pooh and Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2. But I was going into this interested to see how they would do this one, and this is what I will say about Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. It's not horrible. It's not bad, but I will say this, I do feel like there are things I like and there's things I hate here. And the best way for me to talk about this is I'm going to do like a reverse. Going into the things I hate about this is one of the things I really kind of have an issue with, and with this whole cinematic universe, as I've been saying since I reviewed Blood and Honey 1, I do wish if you're going to have something like this, you would commit to the fun, campy side of it. And I will say, has the same characters and writing issues as a lot of the previous films here. And this is a situation where I really am trying to be fair about this. And the problem when it comes to this, there's not much character development. You get some of it when it comes to it here, but I will say, I'm not asking you to spell everything out for us, but you could at least give us something more. So if they are to do another one of these Neverland Nightmare things, I will say, for the most part, we really do need to start going deep into the lore. I appreciate you do give us some lore here that's interesting enough, like what they do with spinning the idea on his head by making Peter Pan into a horror villain, which I'll be honest, I have heard there are some horror ideas in the original story, so it's kind of interesting to see how they would play on it. But there are some things here I will say it struggles a bit when it comes to the tone consistency here. So I will say it does take itself a little bit too immensely serious. It's not a lot of fun and campiness as you would get in, and also you have some good intentions here, but I think when it comes to Tinkerbell, credit to Kit Green who's playing it, but I think there are certain things which I won't delve deep into, which I appreciate them trying to do here, but I kind of feel like this was kind of thought of at the last minute, and didn't really have a lot much to go on here, and it feels like we're going into a movie that's named after him. You should be getting a lot more time to shine in here, especially since it's the one with Peter Pan. They're fighting in the cinematic universe where it comes to a head. But there's ideas with him and Tinkerbell that worked by making them into the horror aspect, but having them kidnap kids, it was reminiscent of the Black Phone, but I was willing to try and go along with it. But some of this other stuff, like drugs and stuff, I'm like, this is kind of too out there when it comes to this third movie in the Twisted Childhood universe, and you could have benefited from some rewrites and also some editing here, because some of the editing here is a bit uneven here, because some of the pacing is interesting here, but some of it here is a little bit too out there and a little bit too weird for it, and it feels like it's just very slow in terms of this pacing here. So that's also something that it does struggle with immensely the most when it comes to it. But I will give this movie its merit. I will say this, while all those issues are still valid and stops us from being a entertaining cult classic, it still has a little bit of that guilty pleasureness here, but here it does make sense on the surface to take Peter Pan and make him a little bit out of the ordinary. So yeah, I will say I did like that idea. The direction for what it is pretty competent, I will say that. Cinematography from a visual standpoint, it's a big increase here. The effects are rock solid throughout here for a lot of the practical effects and a lot of the practical makeup and gore. But there are some CGI here that doesn't really work a whole lot. And I will say the music is pretty fine here. The music is nothing to run home about, which I always love talking about music in these reviews, because I really think people who don't appreciate music as a part of essential to the film as we should. But I will say the music is decent for what it is. Also, I like some of the CGI in some parts. It's a very small budget, but there was some CGI that was quite decent for what we got. And I will say, despite the writing of the characters, I did like some of these performances here. So I like a lot of some of these performances. The main actor who plays Peter Pan is not a whole lot given to him in terms of a character, but I will say Martin Portlock does a very good job here. It kind of reminds you of Heath Ledger's Joker and a little bit of the Black Phone, what they were going for here, even though Ethan Hawke and Heath Ledger, they were infinitely better in their performances there. But I will say, for what he is required of him, he does a decent enough job when it comes to Peter Pan. Megan Placito is Wendy Darling. Not a lot to her, but I actually really liked her performance as Wendy Darling. She's capable. She does have her moments. Kit Green is Timmy or Tinkerbell. This is, of course, a person in a certain community, so I want to be respectful as I can. But I will say that Kit does a pretty decent job as Tinkerbell. Peter DeSouza-Feighoney as Michael Darling did fine. Now, some people in the cast were a bit iffy here, like Teresa Banham as Mary Darling, Campbell Wallace as John Darling, the parents. The actors who play Lily and James Captain Hook, they were having fun, but you could tell in moments they are really not the strongest here. So it's nowhere not as good as Jason Isaacs or even Dustin Hoffman in the 1991 movie, which I would like to kind of review for you guys, even though I just have to just not want to do it because we lost Maggie Smith recently, but I still want to do it. But overall, it's an interesting idea here. What you're going for here is just, there's not a whole lot to get out of this one. There are some interesting ideas that they play on with some lore and some of the kills, and some of the acting is good here. But the writing issues and the character issues and some of the other moments here still has a lot of problems, to where I can't say this is going to be one of the greatest things ever. Like I said, this Puniverse is not very good, but I enjoy them as guilty pleasures. I just really hope for the next couple movies, especially with this twisted take on Bambi and such, we get to lean more into the fun aspect. I want to go into the fun aspect of this and not take everything so seriously. For a twisted cinematic universe like this, you should be having a lot more campy fun with it. But I didn't hate this as much as I thought it was going to be. It was an interesting experiment, but could have been a lot better. I'm going to go ahead and give this a middle valley.
Well, that's going to do it for the video that you just watched. If you want to see more, my channel icon is up here. If you want to see more content from me, all my social medias are right here in this end card. I will also leave a playlist and a video here for you to see what the channel is about. As always, acknowledge me, stay Epictastic, join the Epictasticness, and you guys keep it cool.